what I'm going to do today is share a little bit about, and most importantly, the work that we're doing with Marketing Evolution. But in order to do that, I wanted to just share for a few minutes a little bit about Time Inc.
We think. We laugh.
We inspire.
We influence.
We entertain.
We argue.
We dress to kill.
We explore.
We build.
We invent.
We dream.
This is the human experience.
And now it is open to all like never before.
Open to every passion on every platform for every brand to join in.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time to open up the possibilities.
Open up the connections.
And open up the experience.
With one of the world's most influential media networks.
Time Inc. Open the experience.
And as One Time Inc., truly One Time Inc., Time Inc. creates, and our mission is to create content and experiences that educate, entertain, and inspire the world. And our brands connect our advertisers' brands to people and their passions. And that's what I think is really key in the discussion today. It's all about the results that we want to deliver. It's not only to our customers as consumers, but results that we want to deliver to our advertising partners. And so there's a huge focus, and there has been over the last 3 to 4 years, I would say, very specifically on driving results. And that is what I'm going to share with you. The way we can do this is because of the reach and the scale that Time Inc. has in speaking with consumers that you're all trying to reach. And so we reach 1 in 2 of every American. Our growth that we're seeing is really in mobile and video. And so when you look at, and I think Rex, you referenced Hub and Spoke, but if you look at Time Inc. and you look at it in that way, and I think that some of them should have been bolded, but it's okay. If you look at the print, digital, and mobile, we're actually now more digitally led. We have larger audiences on our digital platforms than we do on print. So we're transforming each and every day. So you see the print and the digital and the mobile, and I've handed some more of the details there if anyone's interested. I'm not going to go through that in this presentation, but what's really critical here for us to understand and for us to gain insight to drive results is to really look across all of the platforms that we can offer, not only to consumers, but our advertising partners. And research and insights, and you see database there, data has become more and more important to do that. And we've developed a program that's evolved into what we're calling Time Inc. Works. And I'm going to walk you through an example that we have for the auto category, but know that we're really doing this for all advertising categories. The solutions are a little bit different based on the objectives in each of those verticals that they're trying to achieve. So someone mentioned pharma earlier, and that may very well be that you just want to drive someone to the doctor, right? For auto, again, I'll take you through that. We're actually guaranteeing results to our automotive clients. How are we doing that? Our pledge is that we're leveraging our insights and our proprietary data. In many cases, that's first-party data, but you'll see where the second and third-party data comes in. Our first-party data includes all of our data from 150 million people from our own subscriber database, but we're also conducting ongoing, continuous research among auto intenders. And Marketing Evolution is helping us with that as well. And so we're learning more about who is in the market to buy a car, and we're overlaying that with all of our other data that we have. And what that does is it informs a customized plan for any of our automotive marketers, okay? What we're guaranteeing, if you will, are to drive significant lifts in some of the more upper funnel metrics. We all know that buying a car, we can also think about it on a sales term, But the reality is that our marketers are coming to us for more of those upper funnel metrics. As things evolve though, and I think Rex, what you shared with Audi is a great example, as Time Inc. is transforming to be more digitally led, and the way that we know and can understand where people are at any given time, we are also working with our clients for those lower funnel metrics. And the way it works is very simple. Obviously, an advertiser commits to working with Time Inc., and there's a certain level of an investment that we talk with our clients about. And in order for this to really be effective, we also want that client to be platform agnostic, okay? So no longer is it about magazines, okay? It's very much about reaching a consumer and thinking about the consumer front and center. And Time Inc., because of its scale across platforms, can deliver that. So it's across many different platforms. We also want a client to have consistent messaging. So we work with them on that. And creative has come up. There's a big component in what we do together that looks at their creative, looks at what's resonating with different audiences. And I think, I don't know if Tina left, but that McCormick's example to me was really interesting because we can, you know, from an insights perspective, we're also working with these marketers to understand if there's certain targets you're trying to reach, well, how do we find them and how can we do that with them? Okay, so that's the first part. There's a lot of planning that takes place. And Marketing Evolution, in partnership with our clients and with Time Inc., works with us prior to that campaign launch to really glean those insights and look at all that data to launch that plan. And so that's the second middle piece, which is the development. We're really working together to really understand what those objectives are, what is the result that we're trying to drive, and we're sharing. And on the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that sharing of data. We're also, as I mentioned, overlaying a lot of the Time Inc. proprietary insights. And that's how we develop a media plan. And that's why we'll guarantee the result, because it's all informed by data. And finally, we're measuring that result. And again, Marketing Evolution is working with us on a continuous basis to measure the results of that campaign once that campaign runs. You're not going to see some of the creative elements that we measure in this presentation, but there's also creative optimization that we do to really ensure the most optimal result. So let's talk for a moment about the data. And we believe that it's critical for collaboration across all constituents. And in this case, it's Marketing Evolution, it's Time Inc., but it's also, and you see here, advertiser agency. And I think that's key and something that we talked at our table about, which is it's really important to have that collaboration between an advertiser and an agency, and because that's where the art and science comes into driving the result, okay? And each party is actually sharing some data. What we really appreciate from Marketing Evolution is their insight across platforms and the benchmarks that are available for us should we not have that insight at the startup of a program. And so how I define it is first party is Time Inc. Okay, we have the intender insights. We have performance already because we're doing this in the auto vertical quite consistently. So we understand how we can impact certain objectives and through what platforms we can do that. And we also, of course, lean on a lot of the syndicated data sets that are available to us. Marketing Evolution, and all of you do work with them, so you know very well about the SERFs and the way we build plans. Okay, very critical in this process, very critical to look at different scenarios, okay? And finally, except that's it's the first party and then the second party data is really where the agency and the advertiser comes in. In some cases, the advertisers have rich data sets that we can marry with Time Inc., okay? And we're talking a lot about that data stack, and in Time Inc.'s terms, we're building a data lake. And what we're talking to advertisers about is how do you want to, swim in the lake? And, what can we do there? Okay, and so we're really working with a lot of our clients, and this goes beyond auto, to really understand what data they have, what agencies have on behalf of their advertisers, and how we can marry this into that solution. So how does this work? This is actually a slide. There's a lot here. You guys on the left-hand side probably are very familiar with some of the optimizations and the tool that we use, the IBP tool that we use. But all of that data comes together, and what we're now able to do is really look at how we can shift and optimize for that best result or outcome for our client. Okay, and what you see in the middle here is a hypothetical. This is not actually how our assets perform, but it's an example. We look at it across all of our assets, that 35 plus slide you saw in the beginning, and we look at it across platforms. And the other thing that we're doing is we run about 500 plus events throughout the year. So we're working on including experiential into this. We had a discussion about search. How do we bring search into that? How do we bring social? There's so much opportunity, and it's really constantly evolving, okay? And what comes out of that are some recommendations. And on the bottom here you see, the mix across platforms, and you could argue that it could go beyond. So this is magazine, this is digital, it could be mobile, it could be video, it could be, and all of that combined is what we're suggesting we will deliver to our client. So it's a percent and it's an actual amount that we will deliver as a result to our clients. So let's talk about how does this really work. I'm going to share a case study. Early on, Toyota recognized that this was quite evolutionary, and this is an example from about 3 years ago now, 2.5 years ago. And I do want to mention two people, and I don't see Garish, but Chris Winicki over, I believe, at table 1, leads this effort for Time Inc. And so any questions, you can certainly reach out to Chris or I. But we've been working with Toyota for now about 3 or 4 years. And for each of their models, we're looking at results in this way. This is an example for Venza. And what's really interesting about this is this is a straight kind of demo target that they would use for a media plan. But what we did was we really worked, and this is where the collaboration comes in. We really worked with Toyota, client, their agency, and us to really think about that mindset. And what the agency has provided is that color. Like, who are we really going after? And that's what you see in blue, which is the target insights were really, it's about a person who has a new sense of freedom and independence, has a strong interest in food. It's more of the psychographics and the mindset that we need to also be following through on. And while that didn't come out in the data, the model that we created, what Time Inc. has done is really thought about that and placed the advertising in contextually relevant areas to capture that mindset. So it's a bit of art and science in the way that we're delivering results. And so go ahead.
Got those insights through survey research?
A mix of qual and quant. So it was really, they did a lot of ethnographies, and they have their own practice of doing that at Toyota. And so, and they have tracking studies.
Okay,
so it's, yes, okay. They shared that with us. And that helps. So again, it's really how can we all come together and really drive a better result, okay? And so this gives you a sense of how a media plan changed. So should we not have done this, okay, think about it this way. This was the original plan, and it was a print-only plan. What happened was, oops, sorry, pressed the wrong button. So that print-only plan turned into a plan that included not only print but digital. And not only digital, but it included display plus mobile. And you saw that there were some brands that kind of came on and off the list. And that's how we're optimizing. And we're optimizing this in some cases on a continuous basis, depending on how long that campaign is running. And so here are some of the findings that you see, is that their objective, again, was awareness. And so what we saw overall was there was a 12-point lift against a control group on awareness. And you see that we can also go deeper into understanding how individual platforms performed. And what's really interesting is now we have the insight. And this was the first one that we had done with Toyota. We're taking that performance data now against our assets and bringing it back in for future learning for Venza and other models beyond. So it further optimizes as you go along the way, okay? And then the other thing that we saw was now, again, if you think about it, it was print only in the beginning. That cross-platform delivered synergistic effects to their outcome. Okay, so there was it drove more impact than magazines alone. 27% more impact on awareness than magazines alone.
So, was the increase in awareness among subscribers?
Total audience against the target. Against the target who were exposed to what I say Time Inc. assets across all platforms.
So that was the agency's findings?
No, this was our findings. Well, it's Marketing Evolution's findings. No, it's our findings though, right? Or I would argue it's all of our findings, right? So it's Toyota's findings too, because it's truly, and that brings me to the partnership. And so what we're learning as a company is to develop deeper partnerships with our advertisers because we think it's going to really drive better results. And so, and the other thing that it allows us to do is to optimize along the way. Because what we're doing is we're getting a sense, and again, the objective for Venza was awareness, of awareness levels throughout the campaign. And since then, we've been measuring other campaigns, and we'll figure out points in time where we can do a check. Where we can do a check on their creative, a check on how we're delivering on that specific objective, and how do we really optimize that? Should we shift more into digital or into print or change some of the assets to further optimize based on that performance? And the other piece of it is there's one discussion. So we're all together really thinking about what that client's objective is. And so the agency is very much part of this, as is Time Inc. and the client. And so there's one approach, okay? And again, overlaying all those proprietary insights really help drive a better result. And for us, what we're really thrilled about is it's really providing that accountability and transparency that our clients have been asking for years. And I've been here quite a while, so we're really thrilled about this. So that was an example, but what's really next for Time Inc. and what's really next for our partners in you, many of you who are clients? And we've had a lot of discussions about data this morning. And as I mentioned earlier, Time Inc. Is an independent company. And we are, and Greg is not here, but Greg, who's from Warner Brothers, we were both part of, oh, there you are. So we split away from Time Warner, and that allowed us to spend more money, which is really great. That's off the record. So don't take offense, but Greg and I are friends. But so we are aggressively investing in data. That's where we think the big play is. And there's other things, of course. We recently, over the last, I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago, hired a chief data officer who I am in close partnership with. What we've talked about is really creating this data lake, if you will. And so there was a lot of discussion earlier about a data audit. we actually have that subscriber base of 150 million subscribers, active or expires. And I believe it's the second largest database behind the IRS, okay, which is kind of interesting. That was a fact I found out yesterday. And so how do we really leverage that? And how do we overlay it with all of the other data that we capture as a company? You know, people who go to our events, how do we capture that data? And so we're creating this data lake for the entire company to really leverage in the way they need to, whether it's from a consumer marketing perspective or an advertising perspective. We're trying to really think about how we can leverage the data to drive the best results across the board. And the other thing that we've really pushed forward is we've created our own programmatic exchange. Because Time Inc. has scale, we are now able to offer, and it's something that we also discussed at our table, we've created a global exchange where we are playing in that space, and we can now offer that. That is something that I would like to include in the work that we're doing for our clients. And how does programmatic perform versus all of the other touch points that you can take advantage from Time Inc.? And where does that lead to? And not only do we have digital, programmatic digitally, but what's really interesting that we launched earlier this year is the ability for someone who is thinking about certain audiences programmatically to also run that audience across Time Inc.'s print base. And so when we use media math, you can say, okay, I want the print as well. And so we're trying to make things more turnkey and seamless to our buyers in order to extend their reach beyond just digital. And then finally, as I mentioned, digital is a huge focus, and that's where our growth is. And just, I think it was in September, we launched a site called thedrive.com. We're launching digital verticals in the categories that matter to you, okay? And so we've, year prior, Mimi is millennial beauty, targeted to millennials interested in beauty across many different categories, and that's where we're also seeing our growth. That just extends our data set. It extends the opportunities to drive more results for you. So if there's one thing that I'll say to end this discussion is really there's a difference between getting impressions and making one. And I would also suggest that there's a difference between getting impressions and driving results. And so that's what Time Inc. is really committed to doing, is making that impression to you, but also, and the way we're going to do that is to drive the best result. And with that, I'll turn it over to John.